Alrighty. How is everyone doing? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well today. Hope you're doing well. All right. Well, we'll get started in about, let's give it about 3 minutes. Let people join. I know I'm a little late as usual. I'm a little late, and we'll let people join up a little bit. All right. So, but if you're here and you're wanting to know what we have to get into, we have a few things in security. Maybe the biggest tool for security coming to developers near you. Maybe the biggest tool for hackers also coming to a tool near you. On top of that, we have some pretty exciting cloud news. Something that I'm very, very excited about myself. So we'll see what that looks like. And then we got NASA sending code over 12 billion miles away. That's like 20 billion kilometers. And we got some stuff with layoffs, but I wanted to let you know right now, I don't think that you need to be worried about these layoffs. I think this round of layoffs was quite a bit different, and I have some proof around that it's a little bit different. So yeah. All right. Well then, let's get into it. Let's get into it. The first thing we have to talk about, it's kind of old news, but I found a really great thread on it that I want you guys to know about. If you'd like to know more on it, I was actually going to compress all this information, and this guy on Twitter already did. So if you're wondering about the Okta and why people are so upset about the Okta hack, it's because of this. It was pretty unacceptable as far as things go. So this is the timeline. This guy did a tweet about the timeline, the different companies that caught it before Okta themselves did, which in fact was 1Password, which doesn't have a good, it does not have a good reputation as far as these things go. 1Password, Cloudflare, and Beyond Trust all caught it before Okta, at least before they made their announcement, because Okta made their announcement on October 19th. Beyond Trust let them know on October 2nd. Cloudflare on October 18th. The same with 1Password. Now, this guy, Matt Johnson, I actually have only recently come to see his work, made a really good point that the sanitizing the HAR files, if this was really the root cause, is probably not a customer's responsibility, or shouldn't be. Like, you should sanitize those on your upload. HAR files are pretty standard, and they should write some tooling to sanitize those. Yeah. Now, that being said, we have some more bad news when it comes to security. If any of you use CCleaner, I don't know. I know it was used in Windows a long time ago when I used Windows. If you're still using CCleaner, it just released that it was affected by the MoveIt file transfer attacks. So MoveIt was something we talked about a long time ago, kind of old news. But if you're a CCleaner user, it's likely that your you're victim to the MoveIt file transfer tools attack, and yeah, so they're just now releasing it. So if you're using CCleaner, if you're on Windows, not on the Superior OS, that's something you're going to want to know and understand. Now, all is not lost in the realm of security. This is all bad news, but there is a company that's coming out to help save you and your enterprise. Now, that being said, I think that it could lead you wrong, too. It could lead you wrong. Let's talk about Microsoft Security Copilot Early Access Preview. Copilot is an overused and underappreciated name, for sure. But it is surely overused. So it's a new AI looking to focus in on security. And it's looking to help you with your security stance, your security guidance, and helping you generate the things to make you more secure. Now, I haven't given it a try. I haven't gotten on the early access program. I am trying to get on it for you all. But that's what it's looking to do. Basically, a new security copilot experience enabled with our industry-leading extension detection and response platform. So basically, it's there. It's kind of like, I want to say it's kind of like your Windows Defender, your security tools that are there to detect and monitor. But again, I haven't gotten to see it. See it in action just yet, but there's some stuff that it will do for you, like incident summarization, natural language queries to simplify hunting. This is probably the most interesting thing I would have from it. This is like the thing that I would like to see from it, is this natural language queries to simplify hunting. And real-time malware analysis, that sounds really interesting. Like, can you put this on a box with a piece of malware and have it analyze it with you, like analyze the byte structure and bytecode and whatnot? That would be awesome. But we'll see. We'll see everything that it does. Like I said, the information on it is a little lacking. There's this, and I'm not part of the preview. So yeah. But yeah, it very much does seem to be a cloud, like Azure thing. But yeah, we'll see how it does. And that was really it for security. Did you guys see anything else in security? Anything interesting to report? Now, I want to warn you guys, coming up very shortly, I've talked about it before here and there. I'll probably do it this Monday, maybe Tuesday. I'm going to rename the channel probably just to my name. I've thought about many things like Null Labs, which is what I'm going to change my YouTube channel to. And I thought about Mr. Null or whatnot. I don't need another alias. My name's Merrick Counts. It's hard enough to keep track of. So we'll just go with that one, I think. I think that will be good. So just be aware of that. That's going to happen very shortly. Very shortly. I don't need... I think the name of the channel is a little confusing to people. All right, so the next thing, we're going to talk about cloud news, and there are some very exciting things. We're going to save the best for last talking about this. We're going to start with some pretty lame things, although interesting, and I'm going to be interested in to see how this plays out. But the very best is going to be held for the last. So I have a very exciting cloud news thing to announce, and we'll see it at the end of this. AWS European Sovereign Cloud. Now, what is this? What is this? I know we've talked about, a sovereign cloud, but this is literally going to be its own separate cloud. Things in the AWS EU sovereign cloud are going to be in that cloud only, and those data centers are only going to be in the EU. It would be a different account to have a regular AWS account that spans the globe. It's going to be operated by a different company, the AWS Sovereign Cloud Company that only hires EU representatives. Now, my personal take on this would be that I'm not sure if it actually makes your data more secure or not. Maybe it does. Maybe this is the way. I don't know. Because it's really about how the people that are going to leverage that are going to do that. And so we'll really have to see how that unfolds and how people go about using it. It's also going to be operated all on its own, which means that you're not going to have the engineering time put into it. It's going to have, now I'm assuming that it's going to use the code written for the regular AWS cloud, but it's going to have like a handoff. So I don't, again, know exactly how that is going to happen. But it will be operated independent of all other regions. Again, operation, it brings up a lot of questions, like how is that code going to flow? How is it going to get updates and things like that? So we'll have to see exactly what that means. I'm also hoping that at reInvent we get a little bit more information. This wasn't that in depth on it, but again, I think some of it is just going to see how it plays out and how it works. So we'll see. We will see. I'll also be watching to see if other clouds go this far. I know that there's all of the clouds provide some level of isolation at different levels, and this is like a complete organizational separation from the main AWS. Again, let's see how it pans out, because I think there's a couple ways that this could go, and yeah, we'll see. What are your guys' thoughts on it? On top of this wasn't good enough to hold for reInvent, so they released the new AWS Network Load Balancer availability and performance capabilities. There's a smattering of little things that this does, but if you leverage the NLBs a lot, there's quite a few things that were released for it. There's the availability zonal DNS. Disable connection termination for unhealthy targets, UDP connection termination by default. So those were really the big things that came out for it. So yeah, if those are things that you've been looking for and you leverage NLBs a lot, they're finally here. On top of that, we have announcing PG Active, the active replication extension for Postgres on Amazon RDS. So what this does is allows you to have a actively replicated Postgres database, basically giving you a hot failover. That's generally what the active database schema is used for. And that is allowing you to do that with Postgres databases here. So that's pretty exciting to see, and a really good feature in general. Other than that, I didn't see anything else for AWS. That was pretty much it. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Not a whole lot. Like I said, I think a lot of the clouds are going to be kind of calm while we wait for reInvent to hit and settle. I'm assuming there'll be quite a few things after that reInvent. Now, you all know that I am a huge fan of stateful applications, because stateful applications are difficult. A lot of the time we talk about having a stateless application on the web because it makes it easier. But we don't actually have a stateless application. What we have is we have two applications, our application, then a data store, another application somewhere that holds our state. So a lot of the times it's the right solution a lot of the time. A lot of the time, it's the right solution to offload that to somebody else. That's what you should be doing. Don't let my enthusiasm for these things guide you wrong on there. But there are times when you need your own stateful application. And the problem is it's difficult. It's much more difficult than any other type of application you're ever going to write. A distributed application that's actually distributed, not stateless. A stateless application I would not consider a distributed application, is very difficult to write and write well. That being said, GKE is actually trying to make that easier. GKE stateful high availability controller is now in public preview. If you're wondering what this is, it's the Google Kubernetes engine, and they have a stateful high availability controller. So basically, this is a controller to help you with your stateful applications and make them easier. Let's take a closer look at how Stateful HA Operator can help you balance availability and cost for your stateful application. So basically, a lot of what they're saying here, and this probably holds true to anybody that does it, is basically cost and availability. You're kind of trying to balance those two things. Is how much is it going to cost me, and how fault tolerant am I going to be with availability? So they go into it with what they can do, and this actually kind of strikes me as kind of a generic Kubernetes way of dealing with stateful applications, like we have done with SQLite with our Lightstream. It sounds very familiar, but maybe a little bit more advanced than the simpleness that we have, which is fine. Simple is good. Keep it simple. All right, so then they have some graphs. I'm going to put this, if this is interesting to you, if you guys are looking at doing something like this and you're on GC or GKE, it's definitely worth giving it a check. All right, let's jump into Azure. Azure had just a couple of things. Let's talk about them. Focus, a new specification for cloud cost transparency. So Focus is groundbreaking, if you take Azure's word for it, to define a common format for billing data that empowers organizations to better understand cost and usage. Now, I'm going to be super happy if Azure can actually push this and get other clouds to adopt it, because that would make making common tools for understanding your cost even easier. There's things like KubeCost that help you understand your Kubernetes bound cost and things like that. And there's one specifically for Azure and whatnot. But if we could make a one format to rule them all, and we could get the other major clouds on it, that would be amazing. Now, Azure, I'm not sure if they'll have the clout or the power to actually do that, but if they can, it would be awesome, and I would be very excited about it. I think one thing that's going to help get other clouds to do that is by actually getting tooling made for Focus. So basically getting tooling made that will work with this. And then if that tooling is good enough and people can start pointing at it and being like, hey, Azure, AWS, or not Azure, but AWS, GCP, let's get some focus here. Let's bring some focus to the table. That's what they're saying. It's a catchphrase. All right. They also released a public preview for snippets for Azure Static Web Apps with snippets for Azure Static Web Apps. You can specify code that will be injected into each page of your website without having to change your source code. I don't fully understand this, but it sounds amazingly powerful and terrifying at the same time. Security nightmare. That's what I want to say. But it sounds pretty cool. Again, I don't do Azure Static Web Apps, so maybe this is really the best thing. It sounds pretty cool. And the things that they're saying that they do it with, like analytics scripts and things like that, it would be amazing not to have to publish a new version of your website to update how your analytics track and whatnot. So that's actually pretty cool, pretty nice, I think. So they brought it to GA. I know I announced this when it was going into beta, I think. Maybe it was alpha, but bring your own keys for ephemeral OS disk. Basically, the few machines that they have ephemeral disks on them that actually have not network attached, but directly attached storage, you can actually bring your own keys to this and encrypt your own disks that way. So that's a nice touch. It's a nice touch. Microsoft did have a power issue that hit Western Europe, so there was a few things that were offline regarding their SQL instances. So if you're in Western Europe and you were hit with SQL database problems, then you should be checking out with your Azure rep to see if they met their terms of service or the SLA that they are offering. All right. Do you guys know what the most exciting cloud news topic released to date? Can you guess? I'm giving you a little bit of time to guess because we're going to talk about this. And then we're going to jump to NASA and a bunch of random crap. And then we're going to talk about the layoffs and why you probably don't need to worry about them right now. And I think that in general, the entire tech community is kind of re-accelerating a little bit. At least we're seeing some more funding going into startups and things like that. We're also seeing some of the big players like Google and Azure and AWS start to hire again. So yeah, anyways, that being said, though, there was a lot of layoffs here in October, and I thought that we should talk about them, as well as, while I'm not an expert, I think these were a little bit different than the previous ones. All right. Are you guys ready for the most exciting cloud news information to reach your ears today? That's right. Oxo Cloud Computer is not vaporware. It's a real deal that has finally been released. Now, why am I so excited about this? Well, it has always been my dream to run my own cloud where it can be a fully open source cloud, but also on real machines. And Oxide Cloud is probably the servers I would run it on. Now, why, you'll ask, why would I think that this is a great solution? Because if you have an open source cloud infrastructure like I've been creating, then one of the things that you'd love to be able to do is say, hey, you can put it in your data center and just run it. Even better is, later on is, hey, we can actually just ship you a rack that has everything installed and is ready to go. And that's Oxide is half of that problem. They are half of that problem. So they come with a very bare minimum UI for things like CPU and compute. So you can see like they provide basically basic bare bones EC2 instance provisioning. There's some more stuff on top of that, but it's pretty awesome. And the greatest part about all of it is it is all open source. So from everything from their networking to their VM provisioning is all open source. This is absolutely amazing and goes perfectly with the Null Cloud. This is like a perfect Null Cloud thing. Now, the other awesome thing about it is it's all written in Rust. So, not only is it blazing fast, but it is also probably memory safe. I say probably. You can actually leak memory in memory. You can actually find leak memory in Rust. It's just more difficult, much more difficult. Now, that being said, it's not all fun and games. There is accidentally a few Go things here. But I mean, a lot of it's like the Go SDK. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about this. I think it would be fun to own one of these. I'm going to have to do a GoFundMe and get the internet to buy me a Oxide Cloud Computer rack and then run it. Learn how to power the thing and then run it and run the Null Cloud on that. That's what we're going to do. That is why I am so excited about it, because that's what I'm going to do. To be honest, though, this is a really cool way to bridge the people that want to run their own data center. And one of the things that you've seen, there's been a couple people that have moved out of the cloud. So David Hansen and 23andMe, his company, is notoriously one of the first people to do that. Another group that did that was a company previously known as Twitter. And David Hansen actually, so along with Oxide releasing this, which is really super awesome and cool, giving you the ability to basically have your own cloud as a full rack. You get the whole rack and you just plug it in. I mean, I say just plug it in. It takes 220 volts, which is not the standard here in the US. Just so you know, I looked it up. He made a blog post about the 60% savings from Twitter leaving the cloud, which is pretty amazing when you talk about, I think he has a number here. Yeah, they were spending $100 million a year on AWS, which roughly means $60 million a year in savings from their cloud exit. So that's an interesting point, and I think that Oxide could really be a part of that for companies moving forward. Oxide could make that move easier. Now, I don't think it's the only choice or the only solution, because there's actually one downside. Even if it had every feature that AWS did, there's two things that is the issue with this. First, you'd still have to manage the machines. If there was one that was bad, you'd have to have somebody that could go in and replace it. Now, Oxide has supposedly made this pretty easy to go and replace your your computer, your server, but you would still need to do that. You would need to have a bunch of things like that in place. So you're going to have a lot of operations, especially if you have any more than a rack of data centers. Let's be real. A lot of people have more than one rack. The other problem it doesn't do is it doesn't give you the ability to scale quickly. So let's say every night you need an extra 20 machines, but you don't use them during the day. At night, you process a bunch of data. Or let's say every month you have 2 weekends that have tons of scale. For whatever reason, your workload scales that way. This is never going to handle that well, because you're going to have to over provision. You're going to need to have more than you need to handle those peaks. So if you have very constant demand, let's say you're an email provider, this should work perfectly. Email's pretty steady. You know exactly how much you need, and your growth rate should be fairly steady. So you should be able to buy hardware in advance. But if you don't have that steady and people use it, there's spikes when, let's say, an event is going on or something like that. This is going to struggle with that. All right. That's it for cloud news. That's it for cloud news. Who else is excited about it? I'm sorry if I'm the only person that's really excited about Oxide as a fully open source rack solution. I find that to be awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right. Now, I know all of us have trauma with updating code that's not on our computer, and especially when it's in a data center. If something goes wrong, I mean, it's kind of far away. And we just don't like that. We don't like that. It's not right at our fingertips. You can't just go reboot the machine if you freeze it for some reason. That machine's far away. Well, if you're an elite group of people, that machine is 12 million miles away. Wait. I'm sorry. 12 billion. 12 billion miles away. That's right. NASA's Voyager team is patching. They are patching the Voyager 1 and 2. Now, they are starting with Voyager 2 because it is closer, but they are sending the patch to both of them, and we'll be updating both of these space probes. I would be sweating like nobody's business if I was on this team. They have been working on this patch for the last year. They have tested it, but again, you never know. You never know the hardware that's out there floating in space right now. You never know exactly how it's going to go. So hopefully they don't screw it up. They're going to patch the first one first. I think they're going to patch Voyager 2 first. And then if that goes well, they'll patch Voyager 1. Voyager 1's further away, and it will require, they basically, if they screw one up, they want to screw Voyager 2 up and not Voyager 1. That's the idea. So I don't think they're planning on screwing it up. It's just anyways, this is pretty cool. I was pretty excited about it. It took something like a week to transmit the patch update, to get it out to it, which is amazing when you think about it. That's pretty amazing. So yeah, I'll be keeping a watch on that for sure. All right. Now we have just a few things to talk about before we get into the layoffs. None of these are really big deals, but they are definitely things that we'll be keeping our eyes out on. It's things we'll be watching. All right. PHP Storm, a JetBrains thing, has a pest problem. It has a pest problem. The pest plugin is now maintained by JetBrains. I don't know exactly what happened to this. I don't know what pest is, but I guess a lot of people enjoy pests, and especially PHP people. They seem to be pests themselves. And so the pest plugin is now, instead of community maintained, going to be supported by JetBrains. I'm assuming this is a really good thing for PHP and PHP Storm fans. I am not one of them. So let's move on. Moving on to Winter.js. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this. Winter.js is the most performant JavaScript service worker server thanks to Rust and SpiderMonkey. I'm going to leave a link. Whoops, I accidentally clicked the wrong thing. I'm going to leave a link to this for you all in case you're interested in how Rust and SpiderMonkey made JavaScript better. But that's effectively what did. So there's Winter.js, a new thing out there that you can use. Winter is coming. Pretty awesome. Now, the one thing that I did notice that I wanted to point out here for you all is I don't know how it's licensed. I couldn't actually find a license file on it. So it's effectively not licensed at this point. So I'll be looking to see, hopefully it's open sourced. I'm assuming that they meant for it to be. I didn't find a license though. So that's something to be cognizant of. Anyways, pretty cool. It looks like Intel has even more issues on their hand. Qualcomm claims that its Snapdragon X Elite processor will beat Apple, Intel, and AMD. Models are going to begin shipping in mid-2024. Now, one thing that I'll be really interested in seeing is the Linux and Windows support for these. So it needs to be really well done, because so far I've never seen good licensing around Windows on ARM. Just honestly, not been good licensing. And that's a problem for Qualcomm. That needs to be figured out before this actually hits. Because you know what? While I love for Linux to be the main number one thing, most of us aren't Linux people. Most of us are Windows people. So it needs to have good Windows support. And right now, you can't even buy a Windows ARM license. So I don't know. It doesn't. That needs to be solved. I'm assuming Qualcomm is in talks with Microsoft, and that will be solved. If they're talking about multi-threaded support and their claims are held to be true, it's amazing, beating the i7. Now, I did notice that they did not compare it to the i9 or any of those like Threadrippers. So we'll have to see. But this is at wattage, so like at 50 watts. So either way, if you're talking about saving electricity, this has done a fantastic job. And so I'm very excited about it for that alone. because the i9s and those Threadrippers use a lot more power anyhow. So at 50 watts, it's cranking out more compute. Very cool. This has more than just personal computers though, because ARM's on server. You have your AWS Nitro system and AWS. It's not Nitro. Nitro's their disk. Graviton too. That actually build decent server CPUs. But if you're talking about, I don't know, Oxide building a rack for ARM, I don't know that there's a good ARM chip out there for Oxide to use. Right now, it's AMD CPUs that they're using. And I'm pretty, I think it's AMD CPUs. One second. Before I just, throw that out there. Yeah, it's AMD Epic. I thought it was AMD Epic, but then I second guessed myself. I shouldn't have. AMD Epic. These are obviously, this is comparing to personal computers, but I'm looking forward to seeing those server CPUs that they can bust out as well. So I am looking forward to it. All right. This is just for informational purposes. This is really cool because this is going to be a video in the building a database thing. Basically, databases have a bunch of different components, and so far in our series, we've only really been doing the foundations of the data access layer. And really, you can build anything on top of that data access layer. If it's a good data access layer, now that data access layer is opinionated in how it does things and how it stores data and retrieves data, but you can build any type of database on top of that database access layer. Now, again, some of those database access layers are opinionated that make it easier to do one thing than another, or maybe it's not even good at another type. But that's all it is. It's a data access layer. And this kind of talks about how they took the Foundation DB database access layer and did some stuff on top of it. So that thing that had the durability, replication, sharding, transaction isolation, all of those really hard and difficult things were already dealt with, and they built something new on top. Really cool. Really cool. Very nerdy stuff here. The Nginx Rust. This, if you're an Nginx person and a Rust lover, you have just died and gone to heaven. This is one of the most exciting Apache 2 licensed projects out there now. It's the Rust bindings for Nginx. What this allows you to do is build Nginx dynamic modules written completely in Rust. So you can write your Rust module for Nginx, have it blazing fast, not slowing down your Nginx proxy server. And yeah, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Rust has made it. All right. I'm actually really excited about that. I am. I love seeing awesome projects being made. A lot of the times with like Nginx proxy, you could use things like Python or Lua, which are not known for their performance characteristics. And a lot of the times when you're writing something for like an Nginx proxy, it's to handle network connections and things like that. And the problem with non-performant things in that chain is something that can be called millions of times a day, not even on a large application. The Null Cloud doesn't even have anything working and gets hundreds of calls from bots and crawlers every single day. With no working anything. All right, let's talk about layoffs. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There are some things coming up that have caused layoffs, but these aren't large shifts in the market. These, from what I can tell, are companies that have done poorly, or in the case of VMware, a merger. Now, a lot of people are, worried about VMware layoffs, and the root of the thing is Broadcom is known to gut companies. They gut them for their IP. They buy them for their IP and gut the companies. So I think VMware staff are rightly worried. I know there have already been layoffs. There have already been guttings, but once the Broadcom acquisition goes through, I believe there's going to be even more. So that is one thing that you're going to have to keep your eyes on. That being said, there were other layoffs. If you look at this, there was definitely an uptick, but there was Stack Overflow cuts 28% of its staff. I don't believe, and they didn't blame the pandemic or anything like that. It was more of they're facing a lot of headwinds with AI and things like that. How many times fewer do you go to Stack Overflow because, ChatGPT is used? And maybe ChatGPT had trained on it. So there's definitely this that's happened. Their Product Hunt also laying off a 60%. I've never used Product Hunt. I don't even know what it is, but it was more tech layoffs. There was several ones that are coming out with layoffs. But again, every single one that I found, it wasn't market factors. It wasn't overhiring or any of those, standard excuses. These layoffs were because of other things, either a deterioration in the profitability of the company, or, its root business has, had a new thing. Like I said, ChatGPT has hit Stack Overflow specifically. I don't know about the Product Hunt one, to be honest. That one I'm not quite sure on. I couldn't find too much information. It's not a public company, so it was a little bit more difficult. But yeah. I don't think it's a big sweeping thing. There's still a lot of people hiring. LinkedIn is also laying off. LinkedIn, I think, is feeling more of the burn of less hiring. Less hiring, less LinkedIn. LinkedIning. I'm going to call it LinkedIning. There's less LinkedIning when there's less jobs. There's less people paying for Recruiter Plus. There's less people paying for those types of things. So I think that's more of a deterioration of its core business. But yeah. Anyhow, that's it for the news today. Did you guys see anything I missed? Now, I want to warn you guys, next week, there is a time change. There's a time change. And I think Europe is different than the United States in which day they choose to change the time. Obviously, we changed the time on the Superior Day. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But that is coming up, so I wanted to warn you guys. I will be doing it at my usual time, at my time. I will post in the Discord when that's coming up, though, just this time. I don't usually spam in there because I don't want people to not listen to an at here. So I will at here next week just so that we're all on the same page and make sure that no one missed it. Another thing that's coming up this Friday, we're going to have a special Null News, as I think this Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll be interviewing somebody very interesting on the CRA. So if that comes to fruition, you're going to see a tweet about it. You're going to see it in the Discord, and I will make sure that you know about it. But hopefully that comes together at 10 a.m. Eastern on Friday. We'll be doing that conversation. We're going to have a really, hopefully, good educational conversation on the CRA, what it means to open source developers, how it could affect open source developers, and what you need to be looking out for in the future on that. Hey, Russell, how are you doing? Wait. I thought time change was last week. When is I was just saying, I think that the time change is next weekend. Did we already do the time change? Did I just miss it? I did it at the regular time. It's 5 p.m. right now. One second. Let me go look this up. I thought the UK was later than the US, but maybe that's on the flip back. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I was just saying that I was going to post in the Discord for next week because I thought people might miss because of the time change. I should have done it this week. I should have looked when you guys were doing it. For some reason, I got it in my head that you guys did it a week or two later, but maybe that's in the spring. Maybe that was in the spring, and that's my bad. I'm so sorry for not alerting. I did plan on it. It was early this morning. Okay. I am very sorry that I missed that. I did have plans on telling you. So ours is this coming Sunday. So I think this coming Sunday's news should be at the regular time for you. I think it should be at the regular time for you. And hopefully this Friday at 10 a.m., I've had some good discussions. Hopefully 10 a.m. this Friday, we're going to have a special section of the Null News at 10 a.m. Eastern time, where we talk about the CRA with a person. I'm going to have announcements hopefully Monday or Tuesday after it's all the finer details are settled. But yeah, we won't be doing that section on Sunday. That doesn't work well for the co-host, not host, guest. But I'm very excited about that. Hopefully people can tune in at 10 a.m. Eastern for that. And hopefully we're going to talk about what it means to open source developers, what people can expect, what they should be looking forward to or not looking forward to in the open source world, and how we will see it affecting people. So yeah. Another thing is I'm going to be changing the name of this channel to just Merit Counts. I don't need a third or fourth name on here. I have the Null stuff, the Null labs that we're switching YouTube to. So I don't need even another third name. The Clavin X confuses some people on how to track me down. So I want to make it easier. So we'll be switching to Merrick Counts, not to Mr. Null. I know that was also in the running, but I think this will make it easier for people to track and find me. So. All right. Well, thank you, Russell, for joining. I will, in the appointment, in the post, there will be an every time zone. 100% Russell. That will be in Discord. That will be on my Twitter. And that will be on my LinkedIn post. There will be an every time zone for the event. I can give you an every time zone right now. But I will also... the event will come with an every time zone. Absolutely. Yeah, it looks like, let's see, 10 a.m. is, London time is 2 a.m. Oh, no, that's 10 p.m. Ooh, I went the wrong way. Okay. In London is 2 p.m. So 10 a.m. should be about 2 p.m., but I will put it in the invite as well. Like I said, hopefully there will be a VOD. I'm also going to cut each one of those down to do like a short, like 10-minute like highlights with both Dan Lornick as well as this one coming up, so that there'll be something on the main YouTube channel that people can see with links to the VODs. I save all the VODs on YouTube. I'm gonna be working on that secondary YouTube channel, Null Labs Live, the NLL But that's a horrible name. But yeah, we'll be working on that this week. So. Oh, you're back in UTC 6 for 6 months? That's like mountain time, right? That's like middle of the US? Are you actually in the US? Or are you just working in that time zone? There's definitely options there. Oh, wait. UTC, not UTC -6. That's mountain time. Yeah. My bad. I I think of UT6. I'm an American. My bad. Wait. UTC 6 is like I don't know where that is. I'm gonna say like China. Oh man, I read that so wrong. I read that for so. All right. I got it. It's for 6 months. All right. My bad. Like I said, that's a good end of the news. Yeah, it's always weird because I'm on EDT or EST. I generally just go with ET as Eastern time, so I don't have to remember which one I'm on. Yeah. Time zones are the bane of every developer. They have bitten me more than once. Now on live stream. All right. Well, thank you for joining, Russell. I appreciate you popping in here at the end. And I will also still make the announcement next week since we will be shifting back to the same time zones next weekend. And I'll try to be on top of that. Have a great weekend, everyone. And I hope that you have a great week ahead of you. Thank you.